Today we are going to be talking about animated armor and weapons. So it's a pretty unique item to have, and we don't use them nearly as often as we should as Dungeon Masters. In fact, I very rarely see animated armor or weapons or rugs actually used. And the thing is those are just templates. Animated items can be used for a plethora of different ways. And so we actually have an article on the Guildmaster's Guide that talks about different ways to use these animated items. And the thing is the stat blocks are there, but you can replace them with whatever you want. So a couple of our favorites that we actually chose was, number one, the Bewitched Battleground. Imagine a battleground that was destroyed, completely ruined, and on it are lying a bunch of armor, sets, skeletons, dead people. The thing is those armors, let's say it was a magical catastrophe, rise up as the players try to go across it. Suits of armors tramping after them, swords flying through the airs. There's so much that you can do with that idea of actually having a bewitched battleground. So the items themselves are actually those. That was one of the ones that was more serious. Then we actually had the Mansion of Movable Marvels. So it's a manor. It's basically imagine Beauty and the Beast, right? You've got an area which actually has moving pianos. You've got suits of armor, brooms, you name it. The bottom line is the amount of mischief that those things can get up to is pretty astronomical. Moving forward, we have the Desert of Dancing Sands. So this was a desert that was actually in the scorching sun of the Shifting Dudes, in a magical wasteland. The thing is, the sands themselves animate. So as opposed to using animated objects, the sands animate, taking on the form of those animated objects. Now, at first, this looks like something that may not fit in with the actual act of using animated items, but they're just a template. You can replace them with anything. So actually having the sands animate to be weapons, to be suits of armors, you can even make them other constructs and changing up the stat blocks a little bit. Same idea, though, is that you're still doing it. The other one was the Whimsical Workshop. This was something that was a little bit more fun because you don't just have to have everything be serious. Now, I may be a serious dungeon master, but that's not what everyone has to do. So imagine a workshop that is exactly that. It's whimsical. It's, I can't even think of things because I'm not a whimsical GM. So I would love to hear what you have to say as far as making the paintbrushes of portraits and paintings come alive. Do the paintings actually come off the wall and form animated objects? There's so many different things that you could actually do in crafting a whimsical workshop. I think it would be a lot of fun. The other is the Enchanted Armory. So in an Enchanted Armory, you could have basically deep in an ancient castle, there are protectors that are there to protect the armory, which makes sense. You have now animated armor and weapons. Therefore, maybe they don't animate until the characters actually touch the weapons or touch the armor without the appropriate, code, without the appropriate documentation, seal, whatever it may be needed to access the armory. But they still let everyone in until later, and the door is closed behind them. And if they stop touching the armor, put the armor down, maybe the animated armors and weapons stop coming after them. The other one that was fun that we came up with, the Musical Mysteries of the Enchanted Theater. Imagine, this one really comes from back in the day, World of Warcraft, which I love so much, the theater scene in Cadvarar's castle. So the idea is you have a magical theater where instruments and paintings and creatures and puppets all come to life. The thing is, again, this has to go back to them being just simple templates, right? You can use those templates to have other things act as the animated objects, which is the best part about it. My favorite that we had was the navigating the landscape was the Living Labyrinth. So where you actually had crafted creatures. Now the thing is everyone goes, oh, but these could be, different moms and different stat blocks, and you're right, they could be. But the idea is to take the stat block of animated objects and animated swords and rugs and plant them elsewhere into unique environments. The Living Labyrinth could be that you're utilizing, statues, you're utilizing, what are they called, shaved bushes and those kinds of things to actually be the stats. Or maybe not. Maybe you have statues or you have animated armor that's actually there, where you want to keep the stat block the same, and it's where you're walking down the path and you've got the armor on either side with weapons. And maybe the swords that are in the armor's hands actually detach from each other, and then it's two creatures instead of one. There's so many ways that you can do that in there. The Gallery of Gesticulating Portraits was the other one. Portrait and mystical gallery that are not just for show. They change exceptions, swaps frames, or even step out into the 3D world. This was one of those things where they aren't necessarily animated objects, but the idea was that those portraits, those frames, the people, the spirits that are inside there could actually inhabit the armor, inhabit the swords, inhabit other things that are inside the room, and as you broke them down, damaged and killed them, it would change their appearances in the portraits, so you could see your actual effects on it. That was a whole lot of fun. And then the marketplace of magical merchandise. What better way to protect a mercantile area of magical merchandise than animated objects, right? And the thing is, you can use the swords and armor as it, but you can also have anything be animated. Imagine having the stall of a wizard animate itself and close the doors on you and attack you with all of its appendages. It's the rods that close the blinds, actually moving its post out of the ground and smacking you. There's so many amazing things that you could do with that, but it's a good environment to have those items. And finally, the Animated Academy. So this was in the School of Magic. Even the learning tools have a touch of Enchanted. So you can forecast this, you can foreshadow it by having animated quills, self-reading books, maps that update in real time. So objects can be animated to show that even a suit of armor might come at you. So there's lots of ways to use foreshadowing to show people that the objects in the room might actually attack them, but at the same time, animated objects don't have to be there just for attacking purposes. There's lots of ways to make your world mystical and magical that you can use in the meantime. So this is just food for thought. I hope this gives you guys some ideas on how to use animated objects, both the animated armor and the animated sword that are in the spellbook. So, guys, take care. We'll see you next time, and I hope this was helpful.